Hello. Today I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna do a story time ASMR, and today's theme is gonna be about living at a celebrity's house. Um, so when I was 12 years old, my dad moved out and he rented out the guest house at a nearby actor's property. Um, on that property, they had 4 dogs, 2 horses, and a bunch of chicken. The actor himself was rarely ever there, as he was often traveling, but his wife would stop by several times a month, and she was very nice. She introduced me to the dogs, and my favorite was this German bulldog. She was so funny. She'd roll around on her butt, and she would make all these little goofy noises wherever she went. And she was the pack leader of the 4 of the dogs. And then the other dog was an old golden retriever. And the last 2 dogs were these 2 sisters. And they were these small little white dogs, and they were very cute. And they just followed the German bulldog around everywhere they went. But unfortunately, eventually the German bulldog passed away. And after that, the 2 white dogs would follow me around wherever I went. And oftentimes, that meant they'd follow me into trouble. One time, I had a friend over, and my friend noticed that they had a golf cart on the property, and he wanted to check and see if the keys were in, and they actually were in. So we took the golf cart and we drove it around the property, and then the actor's wife was there at the time, and she comes running down, and my dad comes running out, and he's like yelling and screaming. He's like, "You can't be doing that. You're not allowed to. You're too young. You can't even drive. You should not be taking someone's golf cart." And the actor's wife comes down, and she's like, "Oh no, it's totally okay. They could drive it if they want to." And my dad's like, "Absolutely not. They cannot drive that. They're not allowed to. They're too young." Fortunately, the wife was very nice though, because I could have gotten my dad in trouble looking back at it, but she didn't seem to mind. Later that winter, my friend and I would cause even more trouble when my friend didn't believe me when I said chicken can be aggressive. So he picked up some snow, made a snowball out of it, and threw the snowball at the chicken coop. And the chickens came charging after us, and me and my friend went running across the entire property and back into my dad's guest house. And we come running inside. My dad's like, "What's going on? What happened?" I'm like, "I told him that the chickens would chase us if he upset them, and he didn't believe me. And they chased us all the way here." And we peer outside the door, and sure enough, there's a whole flock of chicken just waiting right outside the door to try and get us. Eventually, they went back to their coop, though. A lot of the animals there actually liked me, though. They had these 2 horses, and the horses were usually scared of people at first if they didn't know them. Like, they wouldn't really let my dad pet them or anything, but they actually liked me right away. They let me feed them sugar and pet them, and they were very pretty. Eventually, I'd befriend the chickens too, and I'd go into their chicken coop with some of my friends, and we'd play this game where we try and touch every single one of the chicken. We didn't want to hurt them, but we just wanted to see if we could catch each one for a second. And there was this one chicken, we called him the cowboy chicken, because on his legs, his feathers went all the way down to his feet, and it looked like he was wearing like cowboy chaps. And he was the hardest one of all of them to catch. And we were so excited after like multiple hours when we finally caught him. And then we come out of the chicken coop, and the actor's wife was there again that day, and she starts freaking out. And my dad thought we were going to get in trouble. But it turns out she was just upset because me and my friends got dirty from being in the chicken coop and she was like embarrassed. And my dad's like, "Why are you embarrassed? My daughter shouldn't have been in the chicken coop in the first place. Like, it's where animals are. Of course it's going to be dirty." And she's like, "No, no, no. It should be clean or she's going to be playing in it." So then the very next day there was an entire crew of people on the property cleaning the entire chicken coop head to toe just so that me and my friends could play in it again without getting dirty. My dad was so embarrassed. She was so nice though. I think she was happy to do it. And she was a very sweet lady. The guest house was very small, especially compared to the rest of the property. But my dad knew how much I like to decorate for the holidays. So he eventually caved and he let me decorate for Halloween and then for Thanksgiving and then eventually even Christmas. He even let me get a tree, even though the apartment was tiny and I was sleeping on a pull-out couch because we only had one bedroom. He still let me get a Christmas tree and decorate it. And the ornaments he might have gotten were all sports ornaments. So it wasn't necessarily the prettiest tree, but it meant the world to me that my dad was willing to make some room for the tree and let me decorate it. So I didn't really care if the Christmas tree was mostly covered in sports ornaments. He even got me this little USB tinsel tree from Target, and it became a tradition after that every year because I loved that tree. I plugged it in on my nightstand next to my little pull-out couch, and every year ever since then I've always had one. My dad even bought me and shipped one to me when I was at college so that I could have one even when I was there. And it's always been a little tradition ever since, and it always makes me smile seeing the little silver tinsel tree on my nightstand every Christmas. After spending a year and a half there, though, we still had never met the actor. He had never come around, and we had only ever met his wife. And then one Christmas, it was almost like something out of a movie. I had a friend over, and it was like snowing that night. So me and my friend, we go outside, and we're just like playing in the snow. And at one point, I hear some footsteps behind me, and I turn around, and like out of a movie, out he comes from the shadows. And I just remember the look of pure shock on me and my friend's face as we finally got to meet the celebrity for the first time, even though I had lived there for almost a year and a half. And my dad was actually watching through the window, and even he was in shock at the time of like, oh my god, like he's actually here, we haven't seen him yet. He was actually very nice. He made a couple funny jokes and talked with me and my friend for a bit. And then my dad came out and introduced himself. And I was like, "Oh, like, I'm sorry if my daughter's bothering you." And he's like, "No, no, no worry at all." And he actually invited my dad and my stepmom at the time to his Christmas party that year. And they ended up going, and it was just filled with celebrities from what they told me. Like, all these people that they had been watching for years were just all there, and they said it was like something like out of a movie. It was insane how many celebrities were there and how many people they got to meet. Unfortunately, I was too young though, so I wasn't allowed to go. I didn't get to meet them, but it still makes a cool story, and they actually send us a Christmas card every year still, even all these years later. Shortly after that, though, we actually moved out. It was getting too small. My dad was dating someone at the time who would eventually become my stepmom, and between the two of them and me, it was just getting too small for the three of us. So my dad went and found us a small house in another town. And I was actually sad during a time that was difficult for me, being 12 years old and having to understand and cope with the fact that my parents were divorced. It was a bit rough, and to have this fun place where I could play with the chicken and the golf cart, and they even had like a tennis court with like a basketball hoop on it, and all these fun things that I could do. It really helped me to get past the hard time and just invite friends over and have fun. I don't have to think about it as much. So even though it was a small little place and I just had to sleep on a pull-out couch, I had so much fun, and I always look back on it fondly. I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and hope you guys get some good rest. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear some more short stories like this in the future. I have plenty I could share if you guys are interested. And I hope you sleep well and have a good night. Bye. Mwah. Mwah.